All right. What's up, my beautiful butterflies? This your girl Sadie's 912 back at y'all again. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and do my labor and delivery story. I just did a video of me singing and just giving God praise. And again, I'm not a singer. So yeah. But I just wanted to give God a shout out and give him the honor that he deserves, because he is worthy to be praised. Let me just go ahead and say I am 7 weeks postpartum. Keegan is right here. He just fell asleep with me singing and rocking. But this is my sleepy baby. My healthy baby. Keegan. So let me go ahead and say, so sorry y'all hear KJ banging brushes and stuff in the background. I'm trying to make some noise. So I went into the hospital. Because of the fact that late at night I had that would be March 10th. I started bleeding out of nowhere. It was just like a little small spot. Because I felt something when I sat up in my bed. And it was probably around, I want to say 10 o'clock at night. About 11. Well, I think it was about 11. About 11 o'clock at night. And I was getting ready to go to bed and go into the next day. So I was feeling some pain 2 days before that, like in my pelvis and my lower stomach. I was feeling a lot of pain, but I was just going through with my day until anything happened. So that night I saw that little spot of blood, and I go into the bathroom to check myself, not knowing that it was blood. But then I turn around, look at my bed, and there's a little stain. So I tell my husband, I don't know what's happening, but it's a little blood. Guess it's nothing to worry about. So I just go in the bathroom to use it, and then more blood comes out. And I'm like, oh man, maybe it's time. So I tell him, and he starts panicking a little bit, so he's running to get the bags, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna kind of take my time because I'm trying to do a VBAC, and if you go too early, and you're not contracting and making some progress, they'll just try to hurry up and give you a C-section. So I get in the shower, and like then it just starts flowing out, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta make this a quick shower. And I asked my husband to get me a pad and everything. So I get out the shower, I put the pad on, and not even 5 minutes later, the pad is soaked. I need another one. So I tell him, we gotta hurry up. So then I text my friend, because I didn't want to wake my other friend. Because I was actually texting one of my friends, and she was up. She was like out at McDonald's or something. And she's like, oh my God, maybe it's time. So she's like, I'll meet you at the hospital. And I'm like, okay. So I get to the hospital, but before we get there, I feel a big gush in the car. And it's a good thing that I had put a towel down and I was sitting on my jacket, because over here in Alaska, it was cold. So it was snow on the ground and everything at that time. So we get to the hospital. They give me a wheelchair. They asked me, was I in pain? I was just like a little bit. And then I get upstairs to labor and delivery, and they're like, oh, well, you can get out the wheelchair. And as I get up, there's like a lot more blood. So they get me into the bathroom. She's like, we need to get you in a gown. And I said, okay. I said, but what am I supposed to do? Because I don't want to bleed on the floor. And she's like, well, let me see. Let me help you and see how much it is. I pulled my pants down. My pad is soaked. My underwear is soaked. I put on spandex too. They were soaked. And I was also wearing big jogging pants. They were soaked in blood too. And then she's like, oh my God, it was running down my leg. So she's like, let's hurry up and get you into the bed. I need to get the doctor in ASAP. So she goes and she gets the doctor. And they're like, okay, we're going to check your cervix. So they check me. They say I'm 1 centimeter dilated. I was like, oh my God, seriously? I'm like, all this blood and that's it? So they put me on the monitors. And they're like saying that they need to get the ultrasound machine to see why it's so much blood. Because they looked back in my clothes that I had taken off in the bathroom. And they were like, that's a lot of blood. And that's not common. So then they go and get the ultrasound machine, do an ultrasound of my placenta and my uterus. Because they were trying to make sure that I hadn't had a uterine rupture, because I had KJ. Pretty much it had been a year since I had KJ, but I got pregnant 9 months postpartum with him, and then I got pregnant again 10 months postpartum with KJ, and then I got pregnant with Keegan probably like 13 months postpartum, I think. I want to say 13 months. So they really was like scared that my uterus had ruptured. So my uterus looked good on the ultrasound. My placenta also looked good as well. But the bleeding was just coming and coming and coming. My blood pressure starts to drop, and Keegan's blood pressure started to rise. So the doctor tells me, I know you were trying for a VBAC, but I don't think that's possible. We need to get in and find out why you're bleeding so much, because this isn't normal. So she said, are you okay with that? I know that this wasn't your plan, but you're bleeding a lot, and we need to take this serious, because I don't want to send you home thinking that the blood is nothing and then it's something. So I'm like, okay. She was like, I kiss my boys goodbye. My friend takes them home so they can get some rest. And about that time, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And so she said, we gotta get in and get in fast. So they prep me, and I go back. My husband, they tell him that he has to wait until they cut me open. Yeah, they tell him to wait outside. Then they get in and they cut me, and blood starts rushing out everywhere. So my placenta had ruptured into 500 to 600 pieces, is what my doctor said. So I'm laying there and I'm just like, I start crying because I'm like, oh my God. And she was like, any longer and you would have died. And she said, you both wouldn't be here. So then they go and get my husband, and they tell him the same thing. It was really scary hearing that. And so when they pulled him out, he wasn't crying. I didn't hear anything, and I was just so scared. He had a bowel movement, so there was meconium in him. So they were trying to get that out of him, and finally, I don't know how long it was, but I finally heard him cry. And I was so happy. But because of all of that, he got rushed out right away and had to go to the NICU. I pretty much saw him in passing, which scared me because my other 2 kids, I was able to see them. The first one, I was able to see him for like a minute or 2, kiss him, and they laid him on my chest for a second, and he left. Then KJ, he laid on me for at least like I want to say 30 minutes, and then they took him back. So I had the most closeness with the second child, and then with him, I pretty much had nothing because they took him so quickly. But obviously, things were different for Keegan. So after she said that, and they sucked everything out or whatever, and she said they put something extra in there, and they stitched me up. She said I could be in a lot more pain this time around just because of the circumstances, and that she got everything and everything should be fine. She told me if I want kids in the future that I should wait a year or so or more because of the circumstances of my placenta rupturing. I think that was the scariest day of my life so far since I've been living. Just to think that I almost lost my life and couldn't come home to my kids, and that I wouldn't be able to see this baby. I think that if things would have went left, I would have rather him been alive than me. And I know some people may think the other way around or what have you, but for me, him living, I've lived. I would want him to live over me. I love all of my kids, and I just couldn't imagine not coming home to them and leaving them without a mother. Granted, it wouldn't have been my fault, but things happen, and that's why I say God is amazing. God is good, and he allowed us both to live and make it through that situation, because it was scary. And once my son Luke knew, he was really scared and was crying and stuff, but everything was good. Keegan went to the NICU, got some antibiotics. He was on antibiotics for 3 days. We were in the hospital for 3 days. They told me that I could go home on the second day if I wanted to, but they wouldn't really advise it because they would just make me come back and get antibiotics for him the next day and monitor me still. So I'm like, that's pointless. I might as well stay here. So yeah, we were in the hospital for 3 days, and definitely much needed. I had some amazing doctors, and they were great. They moved fast, and my doctor saved my life. I think that God put her in place for me early that morning, and she said that there was no place she'd rather be. So it was really a joy, you know, meeting her and meeting everybody. And I'm thankful to them for me and Keegan. So yeah, that's my labor and delivery story. Don't forget, rate, comment, and subscribe. I've never done one of these, so if it's not that great, hey, I'm new to this as far as labor and delivery stories go, so I don't know what to and what not to say. If you have questions for me, leave them in the comment section below. Y'all don't forget, rate, comment, and subscribe. I do have more videos coming soon, so stay tuned for that. Bye. Deuces.